DSR, or Dynamic Super Resolution, is a new technology from Nvidia which claims to deliver 4K picture quality on standard Full HD displays. In other words, it tries to emulate this top resolution on a screen supporting the bottom one. Is it worth it? I'll let you see for yourself. Let's jump straight into the comparisons. The real problem is that it's a matter of balancing frame rate with image quality, and there are a lot of choices out there. Here is a picture without anti-aliasing. If I zoom in on this area here, you'll be able to see the difference more clearly. There are pixelated lines everywhere that create a staircase effect. Let's add 2 times MSAA to this. The result is varied. The lines in the bottom right look much better, but some areas remain untouched. This is due to how anti-aliasing works. It works by averaging out a pixel's colour from samples, which are points taken from within the pixel. In other words, it's a bit like making each pixel out of 2 separate colours. Better than one, but it can still miss some of the lines that only just clip the corner of the pixel and so on. Up it to 4 times and you can see a massive increase in quality. Now, almost every line has been smoothed seemingly to perfection when you consider the resolution. However, let's move on to 16 times Q, which is the best that Nvidia can manage before resorting to the brute force approaches. Toggling between this and the earlier one shows that it's once again another step up. How can we improve on this? Introducing super sampling. This is only 2 times. Super sampling detects yet more information from within the pixel. It's almost like rendering the game at a higher resolution than downscaling again. The result in this area is just that some of the pixels dance about. Look at them dancing. However, it also smooths the edges of see-through textures. Let's look down here. Oh, okay, it's not as good as I was hoping. Introducing 4 times super sampling. Now you can see a large improvement over 16 times Q. Even up by the crane you can see the difference, though if I'm honest, I wouldn't know which one was better. Some areas simply look thinner, a trend that continues with 8 times super sampling. This was the old champion. It has single-handedly more than half the frame rate compared with no anti-aliasing. But what if we want yet more quality and even fewer FPS? Introducing DSR. Wow. This isn't a fair comparison, since the source engine glitches out a bit at 4K and makes things look darker in a different colour. Also notice how the metal areas look thicker again. Anti-aliasing just can't make its mind up, can it? And I'm sorry to say this, but it doesn't necessarily reflect how it looks in game. The downside, or should I say advantage of DSR, is that when you print screen, it saves the 4K image file. This is merely a 4K image that I've reduced to HD resolutions. This is the original. Notice something? It doesn't have anti-aliasing. The magic happens when you compress it down to half the resolution. This is the ultimate form of anti-aliasing. It's rendering it at double the resolution, then crushing it down again. Super sampling does roughly the same thing, and before I did this comparison I expected the results to be similar. I'm not going to knock super sampling. I don't even feel I'm worthy enough to use that. In fact, I'd rather have a much lower anti-aliasing setting and up the other graphical options instead, but that's just me. Okay, so DSR looks pretty good. What are its downsides? Firstly, the frame rate. At 109 FPS, it's almost a quarter of what it was without anti-aliasing. It's difficult to capture screenshots as well. Fraps crashes the game, printing the screen grabs the desktop, and Steam's screenshot tool suffers from compression and its uncompressed option isn't working for me either. Perhaps it's just me. But also, it's 4K. On an HD screen. Think about it. It's HD, not 4K. Your monitor doesn't magically get more pixels. Nvidia has marketed it nicely, but it simply isn't true. Also, the menus of the games that I've tried have suffered from tiny HUDs. They're virtually unreadable. This is a major downside to using DSR over traditional anti-aliasing such as super sampling. The plus side of this is that it will hopefully encourage developers to make scalable graphics engines so that when true 4K screens become commonplace, the majority of games will support it. But until then, people who use DSR are getting the worst of both worlds. And there's a reason that I've been talking about 4 times DSR. There are other options available, but I don't see the point of them. The others render your game at very strange resolutions, then try to cram them into your display. Mathematically, it doesn't fit nicely and results in a dilemma. When you enable DSR, you can choose the smoothness. At 0% it's crystal clear, at 100% it's as blurry as FXAA. I can't show you images of this since it's only changing the way it's downscaling for your monitor. With 4 times DSR, I suggest leaving it at 0 smoothness, since then you get the nice anti-aliasing effect mentioned earlier. With anything other than 4 times, you have to enable smoothing, otherwise stuff like this happens. You can't cheat maths. Even with smoothing, things wobble and judder as you move in game, since certain rows of pixels seem to have greater importance and size than others. If you want to use DSR, I would advise you to go for the full 4 times, which doubles the resolution in both dimensions and gives you a decent result. Because of these issues, I can't recommend DSR. It's nice to have the option, and it's great for taking 4K resolution screenshots, if you can manage to grab them, but it's impractical if you want to play the games. I feel as though it could gain another purpose in the future as a way of emulating 4K on older games that don't natively support it. For now, however, I think I'll stick to super sampling. Nah, I'm not good enough. 16 times Q for me.